The vast bulk of the more than 600 documents related to President John F. Kennedy's assassination made public on Friday came from the CIA and had never been released before. John F. Kennedy Library, via Reuters, Washington. The federal government on Friday released more than 600 additional secret documents related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy after national security agencies moved to finally open up their remaining files on one of the most dramatic and debated events in modern American history. President Trump last week reluctantly agreed to withhold tens of thousands of documents beyond a deadline set by law to give intelligence agencies more time to review them. But while Mr. Trump gave them 6 months for the review, he ordered the agencies to begin putting out more papers on a rolling basis in the interim. The president's direction was to move new information to the public as soon as possible, said William J.F.K, the chief operating officer of the National Archives and Records Administration, which maintains the records and posted them on Friday. If there is information that can be made available today, let's put it out in folks' hands. The vast bulk of the 676 documents made public on Friday came from the CIA and had never been released before. While it was a smaller release than those that were put out last week, a far greater proportion of the documents were being put into the public arena for the first time. Of the 2,891 documents released last week, only 53 had never been disclosed by the archives. The rest had been made public with redactions that were now removed. Archives officials anticipate several more batches being released in the next few weeks. Ultimately, Mr. Trump has said that all of the remaining papers should be made public by April 26, with only names and addresses of people still alive redacted. After strict consultation with General Kelly, the CIA and other agencies, I will be releasing all JFK files other than the names and addresses of any mentioned person who is still living, Mr. Trump wrote on Twitter last weekend, referring to John F. Kelly, his chief of staff. I am doing this for reasons of disclosure, transparency, and in order to put any and all conspiracy theories to rest. The files are being released in response to a quarter-century-old law passed to eventually dispel any lingering suspicions about the assassination. Congress passed the President John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act, which was signed into law by President George Bush on October 26, 1992. The act mandated that all assassination records be released no later than 25 years from that date, which was last week, unless the president authorized further withholding for national security reasons. Mr. Trump, who has dabbled in conspiracy theories himself, expressed eagerness to release all of the documents by that date but found the CIA and FBI protesting that they needed more time to ensure that the files did not contain sensitive information that could compromise intelligence gathering methods. After the papers released last week, the archives still held 28,609 documents that had been released in part with redactions and 2,745 that had never been released at all, for a total of 31,354. Whether the new files released on Friday or in the weeks to come change the public understanding of the assassination remains open to question. Historians have said they expect the files to shed light on the killing and its aftermath, but not to necessarily challenge the official version of events that Kennedy was killed by Lee Harvey Oswald acting alone. Either way, they will provide further details and context for a consequential period in American history. You're learning more about the period, the time, our history, said Mr. Basenko. Not all of this is pretty. Some of it is uncomfortable. Some of it is going to challenge our relationships with others. But that's what's so different about our democracy. Follow Peter Baker on Twitter at PeterBakerNet.